The warm Mediterranean sun cast long shadows across the Forum Romanum as Julius Flavius, a prominent merchant in the thriving commercial district of ancient Rome, carefully arranged his display of imported silks from the east. The year was 74 CE, during the reign of Emperor Vespasian, and Rome had evolved into not just a military and political powerhouse but also the most sophisticated marketplace the world had ever seen. These fabrics have traveled from lands beyond Parthia, where the rising sun first touches the Silk Road, Julius announced to passing citizens, his voice carrying across the busy forum. The same quality adorns the shoulders of Emperor Vespasian himself. This was no idle boast. Julius had indeed secured a contract to supply the imperial household, a fact he never failed to mention. This association with power, what modern marketers would call a celebrity endorsement, was perhaps the oldest and most effective marketing strategy in human history. The Roman marketplace of the 1st century CE would seem surprisingly familiar to any modern business professional. While the technology has changed dramatically, the fundamental principles of human psychology that drove commerce then remain remarkably unchanged in 2024. As a successful negotiator who had risen from humble origins in Neapolis, modern Naples, to become one of Rome's most prosperous merchants, Julius understood these principles intuitively. What he could not have known was how enduring these tactics would prove across 2 millennia. In 65 CE, when Julius first arrived in Rome with little more than ambition and a small inheritance from his father, the city was recovering from the Great Fire of 64 CE during Nero's reign. The rebuilding efforts created enormous commercial opportunities. With approximately 1 million inhabitants, Rome was the largest city in the world, a concentrated market of unprecedented scale. People desire what others seem to want, Julius often told his son. Create the impression of scarcity, and even common goods become treasures. This insight, the principle of social proof and scarcity, remains a cornerstone of marketing psychology in 2024. When Amazon displays only 3 left in stock or exclusive products are released in limited editions, they are employing the same psychological trigger that Roman merchants mastered centuries ago. The archaeological record confirms these practices. Excavations at Pompeii, preserved after the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 CE, revealed storefronts with standardized signage, branded amphorae, storage vessels, and strategic shop layouts designed to maximize customer flow and visibility of premium goods. One particularly well-preserved storefront belonging to a merchant named Aulus Umbricius Scaurus shows how he prominently displayed his seal on garum, fermented fish sauce, containers, creating one of the earliest documented examples of brand identity. His stamp has been found on vessels throughout the Mediterranean, showing the reach of his brand. Rufina Lucilia, a contemporary of Julius and one of Rome's few female business owners, specialized in perfumes and cosmetics imported from Egypt and Arabia. Her establishment near the Subura district employed an innovative approach to what we now call experiential marketing. Do not merely tell them about the fragrances of Arabia, Rufina advised her assistants. Let them experience the journey through their senses. Her shop was designed to engage all 5 senses, burning samples of exotic incense, displaying colorful Egyptian alabaster containers, offering samples on patrons' skin, all while musicians played soft melodies from distant lands. This immersive shopping experience created memorable associations with her products, a technique employed by modern retailers from Apple stores to Starbucks. Historical evidence from the writings of Pliny the Elder and Martial confirms that Roman merchants understood the concept of market segmentation as well. Luxury goods were marketed differently to patricians than everyday items were to plebeians. The social stratification of Rome provided a natural framework for targeted marketing. Different words for different ears, as Julius phrased it when instructing his assistants how to address customers of varying social ranks. By 80 CE, Julius had expanded his business to include multiple shops throughout Rome and warehouses at Ostia, the port city serving the capital. His success depended not just on quality merchandise but on his masterful application of what we would now recognize as strategic marketing. One of his most effective tactics was the use of testimonials, a strategy that remains equally potent in 2024. Satisfied customers were incentivized to bring friends to his establishments, receiving small gifts or discounts in return. This early referral program created organic growth through trusted personal connections. Archaeological evidence from commercial districts in Rome and Ostia shows that shops were often clustered by product type, creating specialized shopping districts for everything from books to foodstuffs. This concentration allowed for comparison shopping but also required merchants to differentiate their offerings, exactly the challenge faced by modern businesses in crowded markets. Julius addressed this challenge through what modern marketers would call value-added services. While his competitors simply sold fabrics, Julius offered custom tailoring, repairs, and style advice. He maintained detailed records of his regular customers' preferences and previous purchases, an ancient version of customer relationship management. Memory is the merchant's greatest tool, he often said. When you recall what pleased a customer before, you have already begun your next sale. In 84 CE, when a devastating fire destroyed much of his inventory, Julius demonstrated another timeless marketing principle, turning adversity into opportunity. Rather than hiding the setback, he announced a special fire sale of smoke-damaged goods at reduced prices, creating a sense of urgency that drew crowds. Then, when unveiling his new inventory, he hosted a lavish reopening event that became the talk of the commercial district. The Romans were particularly adept at what we now call content marketing. Public announcements, painted advertisements on walls, many still visible in Pompeii, and even graffiti served to spread commercial messages. Inscriptions praising particular products or establishments have been found throughout the former Roman territories. "Good bread baked here" reads one ancient sign from a Pompeian bakery, while another declares, "The finest garum comes from the workshop of Umbricius Scaurus." These simple promotional messages differ little in substance from modern advertising, though their medium has evolved from painted walls to digital displays. The concept of the unique selling proposition was not foreign to Roman merchants either. In the crowded marketplace, specialization was often the key to success. Certain regions became known for specific products: Campanian wine, Samian pottery, Spanish olive oil. Merchants would emphasize the authentic origins of their goods, much as modern marketers tout authentic Italian leather or genuine Swiss craftsmanship. By 90 CE, Julius had become wealthy enough to pursue the ultimate Roman status symbol, public recognition through philanthropy. He funded the restoration of a small temple and established a scholarship for promising young men from his home region. These acts of public benefaction served dual purposes, securing social status while simultaneously raising the profile of his business interests. This practice of commercial philanthropy remains a standard marketing approach for modern corporations through charitable foundations and cause marketing campaigns. When modern companies sponsor community events or donate to causes, they are following a playbook written by Roman merchants 2 millennia ago. In the writings of Cicero, Seneca, and other Roman philosophers, we find discussions of reciprocity, the obligation people feel to repay what others have provided. Roman merchants leveraged this psychological principle by offering small gifts or samples, creating a subtle social obligation that often led to purchases. This same principle drives modern marketing tactics, from free trials and samples to complimentary consultations. When software companies offer free trials or restaurants provide taste samples, they are employing the principle of reciprocity that Roman merchants understood intuitively. The Romans also mastered what we now call influencer marketing. Wealthy patricians could set trends that would cascade through society. Merchants who could secure the patronage of influential citizens often saw demand for their products soar. Historical records show that some merchants provided gifts to prominent citizens specifically in hopes they would be seen using their products. The eyes of the many follow the choices of the few, as Rufina Lucilia reportedly advised her daughter when explaining why they sent free samples of their finest perfumes to the wives of senators. In 97 CE, as Emperor Nerva began his brief reign, Julius prepared to pass his business to his son. By this time, his commercial network extended throughout Italy and into the provinces. His success had been built on understanding human psychology and social dynamics, the same foundations that support effective marketing in 2024. "People do not buy objects," he told his son during their final business discussion before retiring to his country estate. "They buy feelings, stories, and solutions to their problems." This fundamental insight, that marketing is about psychology rather than mere products, remains the cornerstone of effective commercial communication. Modern brain imaging and psychological research have merely confirmed what Roman merchants knew through observation and experience. Archaeological evidence from across the Roman Empire shows sophisticated distribution networks that allowed goods to flow efficiently from producers to consumers. Amphorae-bearing manufacturers' stamps and merchant marks have been found from Britain to North Africa, showing the reach of Roman commercial enterprises. These logistics networks required careful coordination and communication. Merchants would distribute product catalogs and price lists to potential bulk purchasers, an early form of B2B marketing. Evidence of these practices comes from recovered documents like the Bloomberg tablets found in London, which contain business correspondence including orders and invoices from Roman Britain. The principles that drove success in Roman markets continue to function in today's digital landscape because they are rooted in human psychology rather than specific technologies. Whether persuading a Roman citizen to purchase Gallic textiles in a physical forum or convincing a modern consumer to click buy now on a website, the underlying psychological triggers remain remarkably consistent. When modern companies use limited-time offers, they are employing the scarcity principle understood by ancient merchants. When they display customer reviews prominently, they are using social proof just as Roman merchants did with public testimonials. When they create membership programs with exclusive benefits, they are tapping into the same desire for status recognition that motivated Roman consumers. The fall of Rome did not mean the end of these marketing techniques. They persisted through the Middle Ages in markets and fairs, evolved during the Renaissance with the expansion of global trade, and adapted to each technological revolution from the printing press to social media. In 2024, the fundamental principles of effective marketing remain those that Julius Flavius and Rufina Lucilia would recognize: understanding human desires, creating memorable experiences, building trusted relationships, leveraging social influence, and communicating value clearly. As Julius often told those who sought his business advice, trade changes, ships improve, and new goods appear from distant lands, but people's hearts remain the same across generations. Understand what moves the heart, and you will never lack for customers. The evidence from historical records, archaeological findings, and contemporary accounts suggests that Roman merchants had developed a sophisticated understanding of what we now call consumer psychology. They may not have had the scientific terminology or research methods of modern marketers, but their practical knowledge, gained through observation and experience, allowed them to influence consumer behavior effectively. In our digital age, when attention has become perhaps the scarcest resource, the ability to capture interest and persuade remains as valuable as it was in the bustling forums of ancient Rome. The technologies change, but the principles endure. When we scroll through our social media feeds and pause at a compelling advertisement, we are responding to the same psychological triggers that would have caused a Roman citizen to stop at Julius' shop in the forum. When we feel compelled to purchase a limited edition product, we are experiencing the same scarcity principle that Roman merchants leveraged with goods just arrived on the latest ship from Alexandria. The most successful modern marketers, like their Roman predecessors, understand that effective persuasion is not about manipulation but about alignment, finding the intersection between what they offer and what their customers truly desire. This ethical approach to commerce was advocated by thoughtful merchants like Julius, who built long-term success through reputation rather than short-term gains through deception. As we navigate the increasingly complex digital marketplace of 2024, there is wisdom to be found in studying the commercial practices of those who thrived in the ancient world's greatest marketplace. The tactics that worked in the Forum Romanum still work today because they address unchanging aspects of human nature, our social instincts, our status consciousness, our desire for trust and authenticity, and our need to make meaningful choices in a world of abundant options. In this sense, the history of marketing is not merely a record of how goods have been sold through the ages but a chronicle of how humans have always connected through commerce, exchanging not just goods and services but stories, experiences, and shared values. The marketing principles developed in ancient Rome endure because they reflect fundamental truths about human connection, not merely clever selling techniques.